Welcome to Candlewick Library. I'm Cheryl. Today I'm doing the coffee book tag. Lucy at the Lucy Chronicles tagged me in this 3 months ago. It was in November. It's been way too long. So I figured I really needed to get to this tag and finally do it. Sorry, Lucy, it took me so long. However, she did tag me only because she thought it would be funny because I'm not a coffee drinker. She said that I'd never drank coffee or maybe had a few sips of it, and that's true. In my very early 20s, I had a drink of coffee and I thought it was really gross. It was just black coffee. I think I took 1 or 2 sips of it and didn't understand why anybody liked this. And I don't really like the smell of it. So maybe there's something to that if you like the smell, you like the taste. If you don't like the smell, you don't like the taste. I don't know. But I've had things like mocha jelly beans or something occasionally, like a mocha flavor in something, and I've always thought those were really gross too. So I've never actually had any interest in trying any other kinds of coffee. So if you know anyone who has hated coffee and liked a certain kind, then you can let me know and I'll see if there is a kind that I actually like. But I doubt it. And also, I don't drink caffeine. I stopped drinking caffeine in general about 8 years ago. And so that would be another thing. It would have to be decaffeinated. So I can't see myself drinking coffee in any form anytime in the near future, but I will still do the tag. The first prompt is black. Name a series that's tough to get into but has hardcore fans. That's a hard one because there's a lot of book series that have hardcore fans. I tried to read Throne of Glass by, I think her name's Sarah J. Maas, because I knew it was so popular and it had hardcore fans. I know she does in general. And I just was bored. I could not get into it. And so then I tried her other series and that was very smutty and I won't ever read anything by her again. Number 2, Peppermint Mocha, a book that gets more popular during the winter or festive time of the year. That would have to be probably The Christmas Carol. You know, everybody talks about The Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens at Christmas time. And so as it gets to be winter, I think that one's more popular. Something that I feel drawn to in the winter is Little Women. So whenever I read Little Women, it tends to be in the winter, the fall to winter time period. And when I watch the movies, it usually is that time period as well. Number 3, Hot Chocolate. What is your favorite children's book? That would be Anne of Green Gables, followed very closely by Harry Potter. Number 4, Double Shot of Espresso, a book that kept you on the edge of your seat from start to finish. That could be the Twilight books the first time I read them, the Hunger Game books the first time I read them. Those were books that I had the hardest time putting down. Recently, the very first volume of Emma M. Lyon by Beth Brower, I read that all in one day, and it was hard to put down, but not for the same kind of reason. Not because it was such a fast-paced, action-driven book, but just because it was pretty short, and it was just so delightful that I wanted to keep reading. Number 5, Starbucks, a book you see everywhere. That would be anything by Brandon Sanderson, I would say. I remember when I met him, I didn't know hardly anything about him. I'd only heard a few people talk about him. I bought the first book, The Way of Kings. I bought that book by him, and I read it, and I enjoyed it, and I went to something that he was at, and I met him and everything, but I'm not really a fan anymore, but I've still watched it grow, and it seems like everybody is talking about Brandon Sanderson. His books are every bookstore, on every video. It just feels like he's everywhere. Number 6, That Hipster Coffee Shop. Give a shout out to an indie author. What makes an indie author? If it's just somebody that has self-published, or it's like from an indie or from like a small publisher. So I'm just going to say Christy A. Cole. She is on here, and I just finished her book, Ariadne and the Legend of the Fire Rose, and I really enjoyed that book. So go check her out, and I recommend reading her book. Number 7, Oops, I Accidentally Ordered Decaf, which of course in my case, it wouldn't be accidentally. A book that you were expecting more from. My February wrap-up would have already happened, so this wouldn't be a spoiler, but Tea for Elephants. I read that in February, and I was expecting to really enjoy it, and I felt like it was more just a travelogue. I'll say another one that I actually did like was Positively Penelope and Loyally Luke. Because I liked Authentically Izzy so much, I expected to like both of those ones as much as I liked Authentically Izzy, and I didn't. They weren't as enjoyable to me. So I'll say I expected more from those 2 books, but I still liked those books, so that's a little bit different. Number 8, The Perfect Blend, a book or series that was both bitter and sweet, but ultimately satisfying. I would go with The Hunger Games again on that one, because there are things I love about that series and then other things that I am so sad happened. But ultimately, I understand why she made the decisions that she did. I think I understand why she made the decisions she did, and I enjoy the books a lot as a whole. I think I'm supposed to tag some people, but I'm not sure. It's been so long since she tagged me. I'm pretty sure that most of the people, I think a lot of people have already done this tag. So I'm not going to tag anybody this time. But if you have not done this tag yet and you want to, consider yourself tagged.